the Self, piecing together the construction of femininity in interwar Britain. Sewing the Self is aimed at understanding how home sewing and everyday practice influenced the formation of feminine identities and domesticity in Britain, in interwar Britain. It is research that came from my MA topic of the modernist approach to the dressing table. In my master's, I looked at the construction of femininity through an object, the dressing table, a gendered piece of furniture, in the interwar period in the U.S. With my doctoral research, I am now looking at design as a practice or process, stepping away from the historical concerns of connoisseurship and more recent issues of material culture to focus on an everyday, ubiquitous women's task, sewing. For it can also be argued, as Desserteau states, in the practice of everyday life, that culture is judged by its operations, not by the possession of its products. While I knew that sewing was not a common design topic, I was surprised at just how little had been written academically on the subject of sewing. I believe this dearth of scholarly resources reflects the anonymity of such a common skill and the continued beleaguered status of women's history and design. While academia has moved topically from connoisseurship to consumption, overall cultural institutions and academia have not yet learned to value the impact of the everyday or create a more comprehensive understanding of the practice of design as a role in developing one's identity. Typically, unless the maker is famous or the material is rare, little is said about such an everyday practice and little is preserved. Home, body, and sewing were inextricably linked. Using Fiona Hackney's work on women, magazines, and craft as a starting point for this area, it led me to research women to interview as part of the oral history segment of this research. The value of oral histories is best noted by dress historian Lou Taylor's quoting of Raphael Samuel, that oral history presents a vital document to the construction of consciousness, emphasizing both the variety of experience in any social group, and how each individual story draws on a common culture, at defiance of the rigid categorization of private and public, just as of memory and reality. To utilize this methodology, I met with interviewees, both first and second generation, from around the country, Manchester, Birmingham, Newcastle, Liverpool, Derby, and London, along with meeting with the Whitley Bay Embroidery Guild. Following is an excerpt from one of these interviews with a woman from Liverpool.
I picked out a pattern, and Richmond's the shop. Julie cut it out, and they said we'd call back tomorrow. And I took it home, and I set about it. And really, with the instructions that were given with it, that was my first dress. So that got me. That was a success and looked rather nice.